Hello and welcome to 3D Hero. My name is Razaki, and on today's video I will explain to you how to model a gun, an Automatic Kalashnikov 47. So there was this model that one of the videos I showed you previously where I modeled a gun on Subdivformer, and actually I just demonstrated how to model a bullet on a time lapse, which was about 5 minutes long, because the gun took a long time to model. Not really too long, but it was just too long for my mobile phone to record. So I decided to record myself modeling the bullets instead of the entire project where I modeled the gun. So today I would like us to model the Avtomatic Kalashnikov 47, and the difference this time is that I want to have a little more accuracy when I'm modeling that gun than while modeling this pistol, because as you can see, it really is generally a pistol. It has that general look of a pistol because of the ridges that it's got around it, and also the muzzle. But if you compare it to how a real pistol looks, you'd realize that there are some things that do not exist on a real pistol that are in this one, and also you'd realize that some arrangements have been missed out because I was just modeling this from memory. And also something that I just modeled into this object by mistake was this little bump here on the gun handle that is not supposed to be there, and so it was all just out of imagination. I would say it's a fairly good model, but much better can be done about it. As an artist, you can model or draw from memory, but in order to be more accurate, you've got to look at images of what you want to make, reference images, in order to make sure that you are working accurately. So with no further ado, in this video I'm going to attempt to model an Automatic Kalashnikov Rifle, mostly known as an AK-47, and for that reason I'll just go to the browser and have a look at a few images of the AK-47. I had typed in the keywords from a search engine earlier. So we're going to have a look at the AK-47 images, and I'm just going to download a few of them to make sure that I have several angles that I can look at, and also to make sure that the model is accurate in terms of length and everything. Now, since I'm using Subdivformer, I am not going to be able to add the reference image into the modeling application, because it does not have that feature, to the best of my knowledge. It's just a basic modeling application. It is just really good for the job that it does, unlike in Blender and Space Draw, where you can add reference images for you to model alongside your image while you're modeling. If that really makes sense. So let's see, I'm just going to try and download a few images of the Automatic Kalashnikov PNGs. This is really awesome. Okay, what I'm just realizing right now is that the AK-47 here seems to look different in all the three pictures that I am accessing right now. Okay, it seems to have this butt here at the back side, this butt. This one doesn't. This one doesn't either. And there are a few other things, a few other features that have been included on these guns that it looks like they're custom rifles. So I'm gonna select one that most of us are used to seeing. By us I mean Kenyans, because we see our police officers walking around with these monsters on the streets. So I'm just going to select one that we're all used to seeing, and that's going to be the image that I will be modeling against. So I'm just going to download this, and then we will get into modeling on Subdivformer. So as that opens, hope it's not going to take a long time. Okay, as that opens, I'll be telling you something a little bit about. It's already opened. Anyway, I wanted to tell you a little bit about reference images on mobile 3D modeling applications. I realize that SpaceDraw has got it, although I am yet to explore how the reference images are added into SpaceDraw before you start modeling your object. So with no further ado, I'm just going to download this image. I never expected it was going to happen, but it's okay. And it just looks so different right now, so I'm just going to say we've got an extra window, an extra tab. Okay, we don't. So yeah, I'm gonna save this and we will get modeling. I'll also download a few other images of the AK-47. Just gonna save this to the download folder, and then after that I will I'll also add this to my speed dial, just to make sure I don't lose it. It's not really necessary, but I just like to make sure I don't lose my reference websites when I'm looking for something that I'm sure I can get thousands and thousands of results from Google. Okay, so this AK-47 in the middle of the screen right now has got some front perspective to it. So it shows us the way the gun looks in the front, so it will be a very good image for us to. Oh, actually, so this one looks far much better than that, and it's more promising with regards to detail of how the front looks. This one right here, so I'm just gonna download it as well. Yeah, so it has more details for us to look at while modeling this AK-47 gun. Okay, that downloads. I'm gonna check if we've got an image that has got the backside for us to refer from. Well, apparently it doesn't, so I'll have to go back to the search engine and just type the backside of the AK-47 in order to see how it looks. I have an assumption that the backside is flat, based on how this one looks. Yeah, I'm assuming that it's flat. And since I'm modeling this one here, the one which has got the backside, I'll basically just try to guess how it looks, and then we will make references much later in order to see what wins, what doesn't. So I'm just going to go back to my home screen and look at the photos that I've got here, the ones I've downloaded, in order to refer from them. I like the PNGs, they really look nice. You see, the background is black. I do not. Yeah, fantastic. It's auto-rotated. I was just going to complain about that. Anyway, so that is the Avtomatic Kalashnikov that we're going to model in this video. So, okay. So I'm just having a little bit of a look here, and these models look a bit different, but the general shape of them is just quite detailed and nearly the same. So I'm going to start by modeling the body of the gun, this middle section of the gun, and I'll move forward to the muzzle and the everything else, and then I will model the back and the magazine and all that, hopefully. So without further ado, without wasting more time, let's get to the modeling. I'm having a little bit of a challenge because I am a right-hander, and okay, do not know I said the form is just was closed, but I'm just gonna open it again. So I am a my stronger arm is the right hand, and so I model things facing the left. Let me just show you. You see, this one is facing the left. I modeled it facing the left as well. If you check the video, that is I uploaded previously. I also modeled this cup facing the left. Well, and I also modeled the torch facing the left. The pen also, I modeled it facing the left. So that's a little bit of a challenge that I have to try to surmount with the Avtomatic Kalashnikov image that I've got here. I do not know, I had to take us all the way back there, but it's okay. Just gonna open it again. So that's the challenge that I have with modeling with these reference images, because both of them are facing the right, but I'll see how to surmount that challenge. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes and we've got to start modeling already. So the basic shape that we've got, Subdivformer keeps on force closing, I do not know why. Okay, so the basic shape that we've got is that this model is flat and long, I mean oblong, whatever. So I'm just going to start by extruding, because it's okay, before I start extruding, I'm just going to select the entire object and resize it along the y-axis, and then from there I'll resize it along the x-axis, and each time we get to, I like shutting down the axis so that I can have a clear look of the object that I'm modeling. Now it's time I save it, at least. It's too early, but I have to save it right now, and just in case Space Draw misbehaves again. Not Space Draw, but Subdivformer, just in case it misbehaves again as I go to check the reference images. So bear with me as I go through with this, and I'm gonna keep quiet so that we can start to watch this, to work on this as a time lapse. Nope. Yeah. I'm gonna do that. So observing this, I see we've got the upper side which is inclined a little more than the lower side, which is fairly perpendicular, and the front is fairly perpendicular as well. So we're gonna start by modeling this part, and it looks really tricky. I've got to make a choice which gun I'll be modeling, because they're fairly different. Okay, I'm gonna be modeling this monster here. So one more look before I get to modeling again and referring. Okay, so I'm gonna model this part and the magazine area, and the rest will follow much later. So here we go. Whew. Yeah, there goes. I do not know why Subdivformer is misbehaving today, but it's okay for now. So I'm just going to employ one function here that I learned about, which is far much better than subdividing. I'll select all the I use strip to select all the faces alongside each other, selecting two of them together. Again, I'll just turn off the axis, but not now, later, so that we work on it better. So I'll go to shape and use the split function instead of the subdivide, because it's far much fairer. And also, just to establish the shape of the gun, I'm also going to select the strip on the horizontal orientation, and I think I'll subdivide this. Yeah. At the moment it looks like a sub. Anyway, yeah, that's how it looks. So I'm just going to now start by establishing the general shape of this gun. So I'll get rid of the axis in order to have a look at it without any obstructions. And there we go. So first thing we'll do is to establish the form of the gun as the back side, which is angled a little bit more than the front side. I'm just going to select these edges and move them slightly forward. We will worry about the details of the hardness much later. So hit transform and move along the x-axis. Do not know why the gun. It's on the x-axis, while in Blender we will have been using the y-axis. So I'm just going to model that way, and then I will go back to face select mode. Select these two faces and hit strip right here, and go to shape and split. And I'm also going to do the same to the area on the upper section, and I'll just select strip and split in order to have that inclination there. So we will look at the dimensions and the proportions much later, but this is generally the shape of the Avtomatic Kalashnikov. I'm just gonna have to save this again before I go back to photos to view our reference image, just in case Subdivformer decides to misbehave again as it has today. I do not know why it does that, but we'll just bear with it. So this is a little bit of an oblong object, so I'm going to lengthen it a little bit and towards the front, and also I'll have to change the inclination here a little bit to make it more realistic as it is. Then I'll also model these little areas here to make it more realistic of an Avtomatic Kalashnikov, and also this here. So okay, gonna have to depend a lot more on my memory, because I have to switch back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So just to let you know a little bit more about why I'm modeling the Avtomatic Kalashnikov or the AK-47 is because after I modeled the pistol, I was challenged by a friend of mine to model some other weapon. He told me that his favorite weapon is a bazooka. I'll be working on that later, but he told me that it's a bazooka, and he wanted me to model that. And then he also mentioned to me that he'd like to see a model of the Avtomatic Kalashnikov. So that's why I'm challenging myself to modeling this object. And also I'm so excited to see how modeling the Avtomatic Kalashnikov is gonna be. So I'm just gonna select those faces and move them forward as we carry on with our little bit of a chit chat. So I'm just gonna move it along the x-axis because that's where my gun is facing. I hope this is okay. I strongly believe that this is how long the gun is. Now to find out, yeah, it seems to be the length of the gun, and if it's not, we will have to just come back later and work on it a little more. And also I just realized that the faces that we've got on the back side are a little bit harder, so I'm just going to switch to select faces right here, and I'll make this a little flatter, but let's work on that later. So let's start with the details on the gun. So again, I'm gonna save, and I'm sorry I never I'm not sure if it's concentrated or not concentrated enough to come up with to realize what to remember instead what these things look like, the details. Anyway, let's get to it and see how the details look. Okay, so I'm going to employ one of the lessons I learned from one guy on YouTube while I was watching him. He said, I'll just make sure to add his name on the description to make sure that you can also follow up with what I learned there. Anyway, in short, what he said was that when you're modeling something, you have to concentrate on, first of all, getting the general shapes of things, general shapes of things or components of your model out of the way first before you start focusing on the details. So I've just generally modeled the main body, the main part of the gun's body. So I'll move to modeling the magazine, and then we'll go on to other sections much later, and I'll just try and rely much more on my memory in order to not shift back and forth between yeah. Subdivformer is not, oh, it's just misbehaved. Anyway, just gonna open it again, and so I'll start by modeling the other shapes of the gun. So I'll just select this entire region and move it a little bit along the y-axis, and I'll tell you why as I move it. So I'm just moving it a little bit to the y-axis because I want to add an extra component here. So I decided to move it. I had to move it because in order to work on these items better while adding more, you would realize that on this application they get added on that specific position, so they will have overlapped and it will be really hard to see the model that I've added. This video has gone on for the next it has gone on for the last 20 minutes, and I'm just going to end it right here, and in the next one we will start adding the basic shapes with more concentration on modeling than talking. So this is part 1. Just make sure to subscribe and hit the bell in order to find out when I post part 2 of this video, of this tutorial, and then part 3, part 4. Hopefully not so many parts to explain how to model an Avtomatic Kalashnikov using Subdivformer or SDF 3D that you can find in Google Play Store for the Android modeling applications category. And so this is 3D Hero. Make sure to come back to part 2 as we carry on with this lovely project. So with no further ado, see ya.